Hi everyone, and welcome to a recap of my finally finished, totally and utterly covered and all recap of my 2016 journal. What fun I've had over the whole year putting this together, and some of 2017 as it happens. But before I begin that, I just wanted to say a great big thank you to Tim Holtz. He doesn't know it, he hasn't seen it, but he has inspired this. I've played along with Tim's 12 tags challenge for quite a number of years, but I've got so many tags that finally I decided, you know what, I want to make art journal pages based on that inspiration. So I played along throughout the year, and this was the final result. And I want to thank him as well, because if it wasn't for the fact that he's finished that wonderful series, it's not going to do anymore, I wouldn't have decided that 2017 is the year where I'm going to do a journal completely, and hopefully inspiring everybody else to play along with me and make a journal page for each month of the year, complete with some memories, and that hopefully by the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, we'll have some more gorgeous journals to look through. So I really hope that you're going to play along with me in 2017. And once again, great big thank you to Tim Holtz, and on with the recap. Anyone that's been watching this will know when I covered my album I ended up with 2 volumes because I felt that one volume was going to be a little bit too thick. I left plenty of room in the original pages for a tag and for lots of embellishments, so that's how come I've ended up with 2 journals for 2016. So this is part 1. This was my January page. I'm going to show you the original inspiration because all my tags have got Tim's original tag on them, and he was doing like a remix of 2 different techniques from older tags. So it's amazing how different techniques inspire different styles and pages. So we've got this chalky technique as well as the foil and embossing the foil, and that's how I ended up coming up with a page that features a little sketch of my 2 sons. So all of these pages have got their own technique videos, so if you want to see how I did any of this or any of these pages, I'll leave you a link at the end of this video. And each month, depending on what I did or what was going on in my life, I journaled about something as well. So a little bit of a scrapbook as well as all these lovely art journal pages. So this was the romantic month of February, and that's Tim's tag there. So I've got some of these things that you can pick up on, like the heart embellishments, and I've got lots of texture, which was one of the features of his techniques, and a romantic page fitting for a February about me and my husband. And you can see that I used the same style as he's used for his quote for the little poem that I've got on my pages. So a ton of lovely texture on this one. So you can see how this album grew and was quite fat by the end of it. That's why we had this gusset included on all of the pages. So that brought back a sort of romantic memory for me of when we went to New York, and this lovely photograph, one of my favourites, of me and Ivan cuddling up because it was absolutely freezing. This is March's page, and you can see all the tags have the March month either on this little picture, which was Tim's original technique, and you can see that I've used the corrugated card, but I actually happen to have some white, so my colour scheme is a little bit more girly than Tim's original inspiration. But you can see where I've cut away that corrugated card and created these lovely flowers, and that was my memory. I found photos from that particular month when we went to the beach for the day. It was still cold as it is in the UK, but that didn't stop the kids going in, as it was a sunny day and they had fun on the beach on that day. This is one of my favourite techniques that I've learned over the years. It was one of the very early techniques, if I remember, of one of the 12 tags series, and I loved this sort of mosaic. It always reminded me of sort of the tile work that you see in Spain quite often. So this was his original tag, and I also had that lovely wood effect in the background. Some of mine techniques are a little bit different to Tim's, but they give you an alternative way of doing things. It depends what products you've got in your collection at the time to what you will do, and that's the great thing, and I hope that will be the thing that you take away when you look at my videos. You can do things in different ways. So that was a yummy cake that I had at a tea shop, and I've journaled about that. So this tag perhaps is a little bit more difficult to see the inspiration. So this is my March tag, but you can see that Tim had flowers on his tag and I've got flowers on mine, and he also had a sort of a resist technique that he did with the tissue tape, and I decided just to keep it quite simple and use the tissue tape on the sides of my pages. So not quite the same, didn't use all the techniques that he had, but it definitely was my starting point. So a lovely picture of Callum. We like to go out for walks, and sort of May is the time when things start warming up in the UK. Well, hopefully, we hope it starts warming up. It doesn't always. Sometimes we have the coldest weather in May. Just when you think it's going to be spring, it tricks you and snows. So I really enjoyed creating this page. Those flowers and butterfly stamps are all from Rubber Dance, and I really had fun with that bright spring-like, hopeful spring page. So this one, again, it might be a little bit more difficult to see the original inspiration, but I used that cutout technique that Tim used. He used a die, but I actually hand cut mine, and it just reminded me, because he had that sort of plaid background, of sort of more, you know, fabrics and dressmaking, and that's why it took me on this journey. And you can see I've cut this out and layered my fabrics underneath. Oops, I think I need to stick that back into position. There we go, all fixed. And I sort of definitely went down the dressmaker, used some pretty bobble trimming, as well as dressing up these little dress, I don't know what to call them, mannequins. Yes, I think they're mannequins. And I had some nice sewing stamps that I used and created the little bobbins on the top of the tag. So this was the tag was a walk that we took one evening. I thought the colours went very well with this layout. So each tag has its own special memory, and you can see each tag has got the month, and each tag has got a different topper. So I've got a butterfly there, I've got a flower on that one. So I wanted to make the tags, as they were popping out, a little bit interesting and give you a little hint on what was going on the pages. So that is part 1, and on to part 2. I'm really hoping that if you decide to play along with me in 2017, if you want to copy the pages, you can, and that's fine, particularly if you're a newbie and you want to try the techniques and you want to take the pressure off the actual design part of it. It's perfectly fine to copy the pages as best you can, although I'm sure you will have to improvise a little bit. So this one is based on a sort of travel theme that Tim had, and I actually happen to have the stamp unusually, and I also used the same technique for creating the titles, having a positive and a negative, and I used my cry cut for mine, but he has his own dies. And this travel took me thinking about Disney, so I used a Disney picture for my memory. And it really is great fun to add all of these details I've stitched on this page. I used lots of embellishments. I don't know if you can see in there, because there's a hole in this little eyelet. I've got a little Mickey poking through in the background. That's the fun part of this. You should have fun when you're doing this. You should be able to use up your stash, and you should enjoy the actual process of creating. So again, oh, this one slipped a little bit. I'm fixing a few little bits along the way, just adding a bit of glue. These are some of Tim Holtz embellishments that you can actually personalise, but this one actually came with a little American flag, so I've put that on there, as this is all about travelling to America and visiting Disney. So some of my pages, you'll see, are quite simple in the look that they have. And this was Tim's, where he used one of his dies and then infilled his dies with all sorts of different elements. And I have used different pattern papers in one of my dies. I kept the same quote because I really liked it. And you can see here some of the little pieces are dropping out, so I might have to flick them off and add some glue to make sure that this doesn't happen. Obviously my double-sided tape that I've got under here is not quite as sticky as I might have liked. But I can easily cut out a few more pieces. I've got plenty of pattern paper, and just repair that. Or I might just use it and say it's a little bit distressed. So in that month I was doing plenty of upcycling, so that's what I journaled about when I was upcycling things for my son's room. And you can see the detail and the stitching and the mosaic work that that lovely paper piecing technique invoked. So this one is full of texture, definitely needed the little channel in the spine to make sure that this closed without making the book too bulky. And this was inspired by this tag. So Tim used a sort of what do you call it, faux metal technique on some of his elements, and I went the whole hog with that, sort of thinking about coppers and all the oxidization that happens in metals when it's on the outside, and that's the kind of look that I went with. So I journaled about making some apple butter and chutney at this time of year when all the apples are ripe on the tree. And so you can see how you can combine your scrapbooking with your art journaling, and it's a great way when you look back to have both of those things, the sort of depiction of your journey, your creative journey, as well as some of the memories that you have from that year or previous years. So another page that's full of texture, and this was inspired by a paper background technique, a sort of patchwork look that you can't quite see on this one because Tim's got that sort of Halloween mask on the front. And I did go with the Halloween theme, although I've gone completely pumpkin and not mask, not the mask that Tim used, but I have used that technique quite a lot in the background and in the creation of the pumpkins. So using lots of pattern papers to create lovely backgrounds in your mixed media work. And this was the month we went to the lovely Cornwall. We like going at that time of year. It's not the sunniest, you don't get your swimming costume out, but it is lovely to sit on the beach with a hot cup of chocolate and enjoy the autumn. I love this quote as well: how beautifully leaves grow old, how full of light and colour are their last days. I thought that was really nice and actually really good for an October quote. So I used that on my page and made a real feature of it. And of course in autumn there are leaves. It always reminds you of leaves when it does in this country. And that was what inspired me. Tim's title and his leaf work, as well as the resist using your rub-ons. So I've used some of that. I've got a gorgeous picture. This was not from this year or last year by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a photo that I found in my pile, and I thought, yeah, that's the perfect photo. That Callum had great fun looking for these huge leaves that day, and I've got a pile of leaves here with lots of lovely sugary texture using the distress glitter. So a bright page. So I'm imagining a sunny autumn day, but gorgeous crisp leaves full of colour. And then last but not least, it is December, and this was my final page. And Tim used a sort of patchwork technique again. I've used that same arrangement in the corner of my page and then used the patchwork to frame my little quote. And it just reminded me of all the times at Christmas that we love to do Christmas crafting, but there's never enough time in the day to get all those projects finished and be in time for Christmas Day. So I've got lots of lovely Christmas embellishments and a Christmas patchwork. And I think I probably should have put the "'Tis the season to be jolly" on the opposite pages, but hey ho, to be jolly 'tis the season. It doesn't matter if it reads like that. So I hope you've enjoyed this series, and I really, really hope that you stay tuned and play along with me in 2017. You can see all the different ways that I topped my tags to reflect the style of the page beneath. So thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for being part of this series and all your lovely comments along the way. I look forward to crafting with you again very soon, and I will leave you the link at the end of this video that will take you to all of this series of playlist for all the pages if you want to have a look if you're new around here. Until next time, thank you for watching. Back again for all those links. So this playlist is for all the pages that I made, as well as the covers and this run through for my 2016 art journal. And because they were based on tags, I thought I'd give you this playlist, which was for 2014, when again I played along with Tim Holtz's 12 tags of 2014. So lots of different techniques to inspire you in these tag videos. And then last but not least, if you're a tag maker like me and you end up with tons of tags, this is the workshop for you. This is available from my Etsy shop, and you will find out exactly how to make these lovely tag storage units, perfect for sitting on your desk. You can make them in any style that you like, and you can keep your tags to hand to inspire you when you need a little bit of help, when perhaps you need a little bit of inspiration. Perfect place to keep these tags. This was a Christmas version. You can make a tag a day, like a countdown, and this was sort of my steampunk version, 1 year, and again collecting all those lovely tags together in one place, and that's available from my Etsy shop.